Welcome back to the Big Blue Lifers podcast. I'm Mr. U. That's Jess. We're back in the house talking all things New York Football Giants, and we're getting very, 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 very close to week one of the NFL season. So we're excited about that. We got a little bit of news regarding the Giants, but we'll get into that shortly. Jess, how you doing, brother? How's things in your neck of the woods?
I'm doing all right. I apologize if my face is a little red. I was at the beach this weekend, and my sunscreen decided it didn't want to work for me this time around. So I am red as a tomato.
I'm sitting here looking at you, brother, and I don't see all of that.
I have good
pink
lighting
perhaps?
behind me. I have good
Pink perhaps?
lighting.
Red? No, I'm not. I'm not seeing that. So you look fantastic. No
Thank you,
worries.
man.
Hopefully you feel good.
I'm feeling all right. How was your weekend?
Well, it was my 29th wedding anniversary, so we did a little staycation. We needed it so desperately. Just a break from all the stuff that we do in life. We do a lot, not just the show.
Congratulations, my man. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. So we needed that little break. Could it have been longer? Sure.
Well, you got a long weekend coming up with Labor Day, so.
I forgot about that. Thanks for the reminder. So I'm gonna try to capitalize on that too, make that into something too. So we'll see how that works. But back in the box to do a little bit of work here. Let's talk a little shop. Now, I guess we can start with the 53-man roster. I know last week and the week before I was obsessing about it because I really wanted to see certain guys stay and see them get a chance, even if it was on the PS, give them a chance to hang in here and help us out. Well, the Giants have made their decision official. They have decided that this is what they want to do. The list that they gave is not a depth chart. They made it clear to point that out. It's just the list of the 53 guys that are going to be starting this season off theoretically, I guess, right? So
Yep.
we got what we thought with quarterback. We'll kind of break it down, whatever order you want to do that in. But the quarterback room is down to three people. We kind of knew that Tommy D was out of here and he was waived. You mentioned about him being traded. I thought that was a good suggestion. Obviously, the Giants could not or didn't think that was something they can pull off. Getting him for a fifth or a sixth would have been fine. Any kind of picks would be helpful for us next year since we don't. I think we don't have any supplementals.
We're missing our third round pick.
Yeah.
I believe we have just 6 picks in the entire draft because the third rounder was included in the trade to move up for Jackson Dart.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting situation. We don't have to worry about it now because it kind of is what it is. But something we'll talk about definitely in the off season, somewhere around February after the Super Bowl's over. But a 3-man quarterback roster. I mean, that's what we have right now. So a 3-man room quarterback wise, and all the guys that we thought would be there are there. Kind of same with the running backs. Not really a shock here. We know that Turbo was cut. I know you felt differently about Turbo than I did, but they got a 3-man running back room as well. And after that, it starts getting interesting. So where you want to start off?
I think one of the more interesting places to start off is the tight end room. Of the guys we had brought in, we ended up cutting Dolchich, and we also had cut Jermaine Terry, who was injured. Although I don't think anybody really cared about Terry. Sorry, Jermaine. But it's interesting to me because right now I think Theo Johnson is injured right now. But the Giants had supposedly received calls for inquiring about a couple of guys. We know all about the Jameis Winston inquiries. That's been topic of discussion, I feel like, for honestly, since we signed Russ, people had speculation about that. But the Giants did what I believe is the right thing. They shut that down. Jameis is a guy we have for 2 years, and I think he might be arguably the best backup quarterback in football, depending on which Jameis shows up that day. But interestingly, the Giants received calls for Jalen Hyatt. which I think we'll talk about in a little bit, and for Bellinger. And trading Bellinger would have freed up a little bit of cap space this year. So it's interesting to me that it sounds like they didn't really entertain that. The Giants, I guess, really like, or I don't know, because he's been weirdly phased out. He had that very solid rookie year, and then in that Lions game, he got the eye injury and hasn't. And then they bring in, God, now.
Who are we talking about?
Tight end that we traded for, 2023, injury-prone guy, big receiving threat from the Raiders, and all of a sudden now his name is Darren Waller. Thank you. I in my mind I kept going to Deion Walker. I'm like, that's the defensive tackle out of Kentucky who I think is on the Bills now. That's not right. I can remember Deion Walker, but Darren Waller escapes my mind when I need it. And since we brought in Waller, he had just Bellinger's just kind of been seemingly phased out of the offense. So it's been really weird, how they've used him. He's kind of taken over the H-back role, but it seems like they were giving that to Elijah Chapman this offseason, who they also cut. We'll get into that a bit later too. So I don't know what the plan is for Bellinger moving forward. They seem to really like Fedoni, who they decided to keep again over Dulcich. I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you can just cut Mannertz and keep Dulcich and Fedoni and Bellinger, but Mannertz is one of the best blocking tight ends in football. He's an incredibly valuable piece for that. I mean, we go two tight end sets and are trying to run the ball, and you got Theo on one side and Mannertz on the other, or maybe they're both lined up on one side. Whatever the formation is going to be, these two tight end sets, I feel like Mannertz is a very valuable piece. So I don't know what they're going to be doing with Bellinger. I'm not surprised they kept him, but I am really curious as to what they want to do with him going forward.
I'm not shocked that they kept him either. I feel as though this is not about what Giants fans are saying. Just to be clear, a lot of Giants fans are talking about him in what I think are glowing terms, but they're talking to him about almost as if he needs more of a chance. There's an argument that can be made for that because it felt like there were some points where they kind of got away from using him. I don't really know why. I think that he is arguably one of the best, if not arguably the best pass catching tight end on the roster. And he also is a very adequate. Sorry, that's a misuse of words. I don't mean adequate. He's better than the adequate blocker. Mm-hmm. So I get that part. I just feel I would go on record and say this part though. I think that this year right here, this is really a prove it year for him. Nobody's talking about that. I don't see any articles, but this is a prove it year right here. You have to do with what we have and what we're working with now, especially at the quarterback position. You're gonna have to show up and really you got the ball out. This is your shot right here because if not, I think the next step is you being buried on somebody's depth chart somewhere. That's what's next for you. Right now, you have a chance to be a tight end two on this team. It's not a bad thing, especially if you are winning two tight end sets. This is a good thing for you. You need to hold off for doing as long as you possibly can because he's coming. So to me, I'm thinking that this is a last chance for Bellinger. I'll be watching him with that in mind. So I think the Giants kind of see it the same way. That's why he's still here. I like the chemistry that Dolchich and Dart had, but at the same time, look at the history that he had on different teams, and you see that he wasn't very productive in a lot of ways. So he had to really play outside of himself to make it on his team. I know I mentioned that I like what he did in the preseason. I felt like it was more than productive, but that's not how you build a 53-man roster. You got to look at things other than just the preseason before cuts. So historically, he didn't come through with any kind of consistency. and it showed. That's why he got bounced around the league so much. So I'm not against Manhurst. If you talk about Manhurst versus Dolchik, I'm gonna pick Manhurst every single time, just on pure football. So I think Bellinger's the last. This is his last stand. If he does great here, then we have a good problem to have with three tight ends. We got to figure out what to do with him. So that's a good problem to have. But ideally, we want him to play well. So that's all I got on Bellinger. Excuse me. But I think we're good. I think with Manhurst, I think it's kind of what you said about the intangible that he has. It helps. So
yeah, and I mean, it's really a path that I think a lot of people might kind of be speculating about for the Giants moving forward. Obviously, we have to get through this year, and then we're going to get to the draft, and it's an area that we need to maybe address is, more better receiving threats outside of Malik Neighbors. Like, Slayton is solid, but one of the values of a guy like Dulcich, and this is why I kind of understood the argument for him over Bellinger, especially if you could get something for Bellinger, was that Dulcich is a better receiver, I think, than Bellinger. Bellinger is kind of like this weird middle ground between Mannertz, Theo, and Dulcich, where he's probably a better blocker than Dulcich, but not as good as Mannertz. But he's a better receiver than Mannertz, but not quite as good as Dulcich. And so, like you said, he's got to go out there. He's got to prove it. We need to see something from him this year. I don't think he's ever going to be a starting tight end in the league. Maybe he'll get an opportunity somewhere with a really weak tight end room if we move on from him after this year. And I like Bellinger. I think his playing versus not playing numbers his rookie year, like, we were a much better team with him out there. And then again, they had all that success in 22. Dable and Shane got ahead of themselves, tried to be immediately competitive. This wasn't the roster for it. They bring in a guy like Waller, who prior to the injury, story of his career, was really good for us. Like, he was leading all tight ends in receptions and yards and all that fun stuff there in 23 before the injuries really started piling up. But all in all, it's going to be really interesting to see how they utilize him moving forward.
yeah.
But speaking of receiving threats, my guy Bo Collins made the roster. So I'm happy about that. He needs to stop dropping passes, but that was an issue for him in college. I've talked to some of my buddies who I do a college football podcast with. They're both big Notre Dame guys. They were telling me, that was the story of his time at Notre Dame. That's why he was a UDFA. But we, as you and I predicted, and as I think a lot of people also did, they went the 6 wide receiver route here. They chose to keep the 3 obvious ones in Neighbors, Slayton, Robinson. Then they kept Hyatt, which I think most people expected despite the frustrations. They then chose, and this is one of the ones where I wasn't as big on this decision. They chose to keep Gunnar Olszewski over Emir Smith-Marset. So it looks like Gunnar is going to be our primary return guy. And then between the likes of Lil Jordan, Bo Collins, Juice Wells, Dalen Cambry, Daquan Felton, they kept Bo Collins, who I like that move. But I was an Amir Smith-Marset guy. I think he offers a bit more in the return game. He did so well for us last year with that stuff. And if I'm being entirely honest, I wouldn't have been against having both Smith-Marset and Gunnar, and then maybe cutting Bo just to guarantee we have 2 really good return guys on the roster. Neither one of them is a great wide receiver. They're both really weak in that area. Like, they would be kept for special teams specifically. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think about Gunner over Smith-Marsette?
I'm on the side of our guy Ed Valentine. I agree with him. Basically, this came down to who could work as a wide receiver if needed, and the one that had the best hands is Gunner. Pure and simple. I think it came down to that. I don't think it was who was the best return. I think it was about versatility because at this point, the Giants just deal with that in every area. I don't care if it's on the lines, wherever it is. They care about versatility and depth. And Gunner can do both of those things if need be. Honestly, we seen a little bit of that in the preseason where he served as a wide receiver, and it looked pretty good considering that. But his hands are more sure. I think they just. I mean, I know Marset had a injury with his groin, but he's been healthy. From what I'm understanding, there's been no problem with his groin injury and the recovery. But they just thought that Gunner was just better overall, not only as a return man, but also as far as his hands as a wide receiver if needed. I'm not mad about it. That's not a battle I'm willing to fight. There's other things I can fight, but that's not one of them. As it pertains to this roster, I'm like, okay, you guys thought that he was better at it. Okay. I mean, because honestly, everything I've been reading, I don't care if it's in G-Man HQ, wherever I've been reading, it just across the board, it just routinely saying, you know what, this person is a better receiver than Smith Marset. And I haven't heard one person say different whatsoever. So it's like it's probably a big part of why that happened. So let's see what he does, man. I mean, he brings a spark that I like. And to be honest with you, if it plays out the way we hope it does, it's better than we've seen in a long time because I haven't seen that in a minute. No offense to Eric Gray, who I'm not a big fan of. I'll be clear about that. Seeing his name on the roster doesn't give me chill bumps. But, when I see Gunner, and just I know preseason, so I'm a temper all the expectations. I seen electricity in the return game that I wasn't seeing. I'm just being honest. From what I was seeing, I wasn't seeing that, and we need that.
I think it was
the big balls that
Gunner.
we play against.
Yeah, I think it was Gunner in 2023 who had the return touchdown against the Rams, but Smith-Marsette had a return touchdown last year. I forget against who. But look, I am trusting Shane and Dable. Obviously they know more. They know more than we do. I don't think it's not like they've made all of these cuts historically and they've been the wrong moves because a guy goes out and is killing it after we cut him.
Yeah.
But and I think something that a lot of people, haven't really kind of come to terms with is most of these guys aren't getting picked up somewhere. Most teams kind of are viewing this as the same way where, look, we're going to cut our guys here. And then unless there's some shocker elsewhere where we're going to go and try to claim a guy, we're just going to move most of the guys we cut to our practice squads. These are guys who spent the summer most likely the entire summer in our system, learning our stuff, establishing connections with our guys. That's just how it's going to play out most likely. A guy who we kind of glossed over a bit, but Turbo Miller, you spoke on him a little bit. Fan favorite. He's one of the few guys that I think really has a shot at being picked up by someone else because they're going to like him as a straight line speed guy. But at the end of the day, that's what Turbo Miller is, a straight line speed. He's really useful in the screen game, when we saw Jackson Dart give him all those screen passes that he would, it's 3rd and 8 and he gets 13 yards out of it just because he just catches it, plants his foot in the ground, and off to the races,
Yeah.
but I think for the most part that we're going to end up seeing like one of the wide receivers that, I think he was, I wouldn't call him a fan favorite, but people like the story there. Juice Wells, went to college, played a lot with Dart, made the roster as a UDFA, had a couple of those plays in, what was it? I think it was against the Jets, where he, had a couple big receptions, almost scored a touchdown. I'm pretty sure he's going to make it to the practice squad. But at the end of the day, someone like Smith Marset, I think he's got a shot somewhere else. We're going to have to wait and see over the coming days about, how do other teams view some of these guys, but like I'm not anticipating a lot of them being picked up by, the Bills or the Bengals or something like that,
Yeah, that's fair. Let's stay in the wide receiver bracket just for a minute. All right, so we glossed over Jalen Hyatt a little bit. I want to bring it back and get your thoughts on that because I know there's been a lot of all season stuff, and we kind of just wondering, okay, what are you going to do here? This is almost in the same breath as Bellinger. This is this could be the opportunity, right? This could be the one. This is the year that could define what happens with you. Uh, Now, can he go to another team and show out? I'm not gonna sit here and say no. I don't know. It's but this is if there's a possibility on this roster. This is probably the one where that could happen. But how do you feel about him being on the roster? Now, I know we got an improved quarterback situation. Thank God for that. But how do you feel about Jalen Hyatt still being here, and what are you anticipating?
I'm anticipating a year where he runs straight and is throwing a deep ball. Maybe that straight route turns into a corner, a deep corner or a deep post. But I'm not expecting a big year from Hyatt. He hasn't really grown, and it's just so disappointing, man. I was really excited for him when we drafted him out of Tennessee. There was that clip of the Cowboy, one of the Cowboy scouts essentially telling him to his face, like, bro, you run straight and that's it. You run one route. You're not going to make it in the league. And Jalen Hyatt, being like, oh, I'm going to show you. And I was like, excellent motivation right there. He's going to come in. He's going to work on his game. It might take a year or two, but he's going to be a deep threat. He could easily take over Slane's job. And I've been wrong every step of the way there. He's got to go out and he's got to prove it. Like you said, it's a prove it year. Him, Bellinger, these guys that, third, fourth round picks that kind of have shown these flashes of maybe not greatness, but very solid productivity of being a very useful player to the team. And I want to know if it was true that the Giants received phone calls about Hyatt. Because if you were offered a fourth round pick for Hyatt and you said no with what we've seen from him, like, I don't understand how you couldn't do that. I don't understand why you wouldn't. But like what kind of offers were they allegedly getting for these guys that they turned down?
I would love to know. I've seen one of the articles, but I love to just hear some of the examples because if you're not taking anything for him, and at this point, and I know Giants fans may vilify me, bring it on, man. I'm not afraid of the heat when it comes to this. I don't know what's fair value for this person at this point. People have been cut that have done less that have done more than him on a roster, and they've been cut or going to be cut. Well, they've been cut 3 hours ago. So it's like I don't know what. I mean, at this point, even a late round pick for him is a viable option. What would you offer to him that offer for him that he would turn down at this point. If it's coming down to a thing where, you know what, who we like more, him or Humphrey, that may be a fair conversation to have then. If that's what we're talking about. We need to have another wide receiver on the roster, and it's coming down to Hyatt or Humphrey. And they chose Hyatt. Okay, that might be uh, a fair assessment. But I'd love to hear what they turned down for him, and I can't find it anywhere. So I don't know what it is, but this is his last stand in my assessment because we can easily go into the draft next year and get a wide receiver who can be able to do more than what he's done. It's not really a high bar at this point, so I'm just hoping that he overachieves because I think he has so much talent, and I think that if we can unlock it, especially from the quarterback position, I see that him and Jameis, connect really, really well. That's great. Uh, Russ and him have a relationship that they're forming. That's fantastic too. Hopefully that'll play out on the field and hopefully elevate his game. But we got to see it. So that's kind of where we're sitting at right now. Humphrey's not here in his Hyatt, and this is your shot right here. I mean, Bo Collins is coming, and he's like, he's ready to roll, and I love it. But we've got guys that get a lot of targets. Neighbors over 1,000 yards, probably easy again this year. Wandale got that last year, 100 yards left. Well, I forgot how many yards it was. Excuse me.
It was
But
close, but
yeah, and Slayton, he's going to get his. Only reason why he was limited at all in previous years was because of the QB play. It wasn't because he wasn't up to snuff. So Hyatt has an opportunity to help us be a lot better and to make us a real threat, especially in the end zone. So I'm hoping for him. I think everybody, all of us that are Giants fans, diehard Giants fans anyway, we want him to succeed. So we're kind of hoping for the best there. But good thought on what you shared there. What we got next? What's coming up next?
Well, in terms of the ones that some of the moves that I found most surprising were on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think there's really too much to say about the offensive line. Stone Forsythe was cut, but I think that was more about Marcus Bow, and what we've seen from him and how he's kind of taken over that almost swing tackle. It seems like they want him to be competing for now. But at the very least, backup right tackle, Marcus Bow seems to have solidified his spot there. But the biggest moves that surprised me was defensively. Elijah Chapman gone, Raheem Lane and Makari Page were already thin at safety, and they cut two of them. It's sad to see guys, someone like Trey Hawkins get cut, but, he's been dealing with some injuries, and, shout out Nick Jones and Art Green, good camps, and here they are making the 53. Nothing really to say. I don't think about the linebackers. And then defensive line, guy who they threw some money at, Jeremiah Ledbetter. He's gone now. So it seems like they really liked what they've seen from some of the other guys like Roy Robertson Harris, and Raheem Nunez Roches has been, solid now for, I think it's been this is his second year. Chauncey Goldston, not surprising. DJ Davidson adds some size there next to Dex. But yeah, I'm very shocked that they got rid of Elijah Chapman. I'm shocked at that one.
Everything I've been hearing, he's been on the fringe for quite a bit now. I think the only reason that stopped it from happening sooner was that he had an injury. Other than that, I think it would have been happening. I mean, for his position, he's been undersized, and just because you bring energy doesn't mean that you're a part of the future.
Well, it's not just that he brought energy. I mean, he was our second best pass rusher from the interior next to Dex. I mean, none of these other guys are good pass rushers.
What does that mean exactly? Look at what we had.
It means he can get to the quarterback.
What do we have though? He's the second best based on what we had. That doesn't mean anything.
None of the guys that we brought in, I think, like Darius Alexander theoretically could be better, but he doesn't look like he is right now.
I'm riding on that
TJ Davidson has never been a pass rusher. Rakeem Nunez-Roches and Roy Robertson-Harris are very solid run blockers for, especially at their contract. I've still got some worries about that, about run defense. But
we need bodies to be playing guys like the Eagles. You see the massive guys. We can't have a guy 5'10" out there trying to push guys at 6'6".
No, like I get that, but like they seem to be doing everything they could to try and find a spot on the roster for him. I mean, they had him at fullback this preseason, so
I know.
I'm just surprised that after all of that, he ends up getting cut.
Maybe they couldn't make it work. I mean, maybe it's just a practice squad opportunity. I'm sure they'll consider it, but that's not one that I'm kind of like. I guess I'm not really attached to that one like you are. I'm kind of like, okay. I don't want to see anybody get cut because it represents a job and food on the table. So I'm sensitive to that, but that one's not hitting me in the heart like it's hitting you. I'm sorry.
It ain't hitting you in the feels.
I don't have it now. I don't have that. But Evan Neal is still here.
Yeah, they were never getting rid of Neal. They can't. Neal.
I would not go as far as say it was an impossibility. I won't go that far. There's a percentage on that. Maybe it's not 100%.
I would say there was like a 12% chance they cut Evan Neal.
12%? Wow, Jess, come on.
And that's like I think. Well, let's see. What would let's see, spot rack Evan Neal contract. If they had cut him, if they had waived or cut him, he would have about an 8 million dead cap. So it would be equal to his current cap hit. Beautiful. So it was either we're paying him about $8 million to be a backup guard, or we're paying him $8 million to not be on the roster. And they chose backup guard, where he's been okay, not ideal. Wish he looked better than he does at guard. His foot speed and everything is still apparently a real issue, but he's, I guess, good enough to be the backup there.
Yeah, well,
Joshua Zodu.
Nobody's going to trade for a guy with a $7.8 million cap hit. Nobody's going to trade for that. So we knew that was.
Yeah, no one was going to be trading for him if he was $2 million cap hit.
Well, here we go.
He hasn't exactly. I think it was the Athletic, or I saw some list talking about like the 10 biggest busts in NFL. Sorry, one of those days.
They got him on that list.
About
NFL history is a long time.
Not NFL history. It was biggest bust since 2000, and both Neal and Tony made the top 10.
Tony, that name will live in infamy forever. But yeah,
Zodu right now is the only guy that's on the reserve injured designated for return list. Victor Dumakeje and Eric Gray are both on the physically unable to perform. So yeah, the offensive line is gonna, be pretty much the exact same that it was last year. So you got some continuity there. James Hudson had some comments about, Andrew Thomas will be back when he gets back. They don't want him to rush physically or mentally. But I think
not heavy-handed at all.
I think the Giants' number one priority right now should be to bring in another safety because we only have 3 on the roster. And that's for both strong and free. Like there's 3 total: Dane Bell, Javon Holland, Tyler Newbin. So I hope that they can find something to do with the safeties. But right now, we've only got 3 on the whole roster. So maybe they're gonna have some safety corner hybrid stuff going on there. Try and get someone like Jones or Green or Corey Black, someone like just try and get something there. Maybe have them play some safety, but man, just 3 safeties on the whole roster. I don't know.
Mike Edwards is available.
Yeah, I saw some people tweeting about that. Bring him in.
Oh, brother. I love his Super Bowl pedigree. He has 2 Super Bowls. You can't trade that. So I respect anybody that's won at the highest level twice. I give him respect. I don't know what his skills are like lately, but it's a name and he's out there. He may take less for that. Who knows? But we'll see. But so the O line, yeah, it kind of is what it is. I'm still kind of concerned about the center position, but I don't really know where to take the conversation. It's kind of like it's almost like let's see what happens. I'm like, is that where we are? It's just where we are.
I think that's just what we are, man.
Okay. It's what I mean. Slotman, I mean, he survived. Like, okay. Do something with the opportunity when you're potentially given it if JMS is not turning the corner, which I have such high hope for him. I hope he does turn the corner. Linebacker, I don't see anything that I think is deeply troubling or anything. I think did we kind of cover everything in the 53 man? Do we feel good about where we are?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have any surprises really. I mean, nothing surprised me beyond what we already talked about. I didn't see anybody like, oh, this guy should have been cut. I mean, you mentioned the D line; those guys. I mean, first off, like I said, we have to have bodies. We playing guys, especially when we playing the world champs. We got to have bodies on that line. We can't be coming in short. No pun intended. We can't do that in that situation. Cornerback. I think you mentioned something about the CB2 battle. What happened with that? How we feeling about that battle?
I was something I threw on our agenda there to talk about was with the depth chart where we're gonna get I think next week. The first official week 1 depth chart, and it's gonna to me it's like based on what we've seen, I think Cordell Flott has kind of earned that CB2 role over Banks. I think they're going to give it to Banks to start. But me personally, with what I've seen, like Flott has always been a guy that's really struggled in camp and kind of been a bit of a gamer. But he's looked much improved this year. He's had a strong camp. First time it feels like he's ever had a strong off season. And again, he went out there and against guys like Garrett Wilson was making plays on the ball. Deonte Banks still doesn't know how to make a play on the ball. And you remember what I was saying. I thought Banks is going to be as good as we were going to be able to get. With Flott out injured, it felt like for a little while there. But it's something that, I think has to be, some kind of, like it has to matter what we've seen on the field there. It feels like draft pedigree can't be the only thing. Banks is still much more physically gifted, but just because, we used a first round pick on Banks is one of the things that I think, one of the reasons Shane is kind of viewed a bit more positively after this off, these past, I know he got a lot of flack last year about Saquon and Xavier McKinney.
Oh yeah.
But that draft class looked really good. The moves he's made this offseason It's like, okay, he learned from his mistakes here. And that's got to work its way down to Dable too, where it's like, okay, just because we have this guy who we drafted in the first round doesn't mean, we have to keep forcing the issue. So far to me, it seems like Flott has played better. He's made plays on the ball. He's kept, he's done well. He's had a strong camp for, feels like, the first time in his career. So if Banks is getting that starting CB2 role, that leash better be so short.
Yeah, there's a that whole little I don't want to turn my head thing. I'm just not understanding it. I think it's psychological. It has to be. I just don't understand it. It's not even stubbornness. It's like what. This is a fundamental thing that you learn early on. I don't understand why we're still here talking about it. When I see the guys that got cut, it doesn't mean that they're bums. It doesn't mean that they're not good. They just, they're not better than what the teams have, I guess. I can't help but look at it and like, is anybody going to take over here? If they're not on the roster with us already, or is anybody going to take over and make a play for this spot? Because we can't keep having that. And I think you said it last week that you didn't even think Flott was that person long term. So I'm like, we can't. I know you love Banks, man, but I'm like, I'm just tired of that being the thing, man. He's going to be a liability if quarterbacks know he's not going to do this. They're going to just, if you face a guy like Aaron Rodgers, that's just one guy that comes to mind. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are two guys that come to mind for me. They would use that, they would leverage that thing all day long. They will keep doing it over and over again, and you keep getting flagged. It's going to keep on happening until you correct the behavior. And you're a liability. I'm sure the coaches are pulling their hair out, what hair Dable got left. Pulling their hair out, like, what is going on? Why you can't get this? So I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm like, I'm just tired of seeing it, tired of hearing about it. If Flock can go out there and quote unquote outplay him, which is like something that I don't think you or I thought would happen. If we get competent play at that position, let's just take that. I'm good with it. If somebody else on the roster is going to step up and and take that place, maybe a Nick Jones, perhaps, is a guy I like in the guys to the left. Step up and take the spot, take the role. We need somebody to step up, next man up, because that behavior is like it's just it's a liability, man. So I'm just not super thrilled with that particular part. But so what else we got going on, man? Are we tabling week one stuff, or we kind of moving on? Because I know they got some guys on a recently cut list, and they want everybody wants the Giants to pick up, or they're suggesting the Giants pick up. I'm like, really? You want to hear some of these names?
I think right now we can table for next week because there were some guys. I felt like every time, this team cut this player, and then I'm on Twitter, I'm like trying to follow, what's going on. And it's like I see, so and so was cut, and I see someone, and like the Giants community be like, he's a Giant, or Shane, make the call. Shane better get on this, and it's like, that's not happening, man. It's not happening. It's a pipe dream. It'd be fun. It'd be cool. Like I saw a whole debate about, I think it was Joshua Palmer from Tampa Bay. They were like, cut Hyatt and bring in Palmer. And it's like, he's the same guy. Palmer might be a little bit better, but like, it's not happening. I'll tell you that much. Like, we've got a week. We're going to see, the things that I think we're going to want to talk about next week is Sam Cosmi for Washington. It was announced that he's on some kind of injured reserve list for Washington. So arguably the best lineman for Washington is going to be out week one. That'll be big. but our best lineman might be out week 1. We're gonna have to wait and see.
Oh,
If the Giants make any moves, any notable moves, I think we'll have some time to discuss that. But as of right now, man, I don't know. I think it's just we've made our moves. I don't anticipate anything really interesting happening. If I'm being honest, I just don't see it happen. Like if the Giants sign Odell, we'll hop on an emergency pod.
We're gonna spend 30 minutes talking about Odell, huh? That's
but like again, it's not happening. I don't think the Giants are making any big moves. Between now and week 1.
Oh, brother! Wow, that's funny. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. But man, I think we're good for the night. I don't care what anybody says. I want to end the show with just your thought. You can share yours at the end, but I'm enthusiastic. I've been getting a little bit of ridicule out here in the social media sphere about being excited. They attacked you on TikTok as well. But the bottom line is this: I'm excited about this season. I don't care if we have a whole team full of studs and we're projected to do this. That stuff means nothing to me because you guys still got to play the games. I'm excited about us giving ourselves a chance to compete. That's all I really wanted the past 3-ish years or so. It's just a chance to compete. And we fixed the thing with quarterback, in my opinion. I think we give ourselves a chance to compete there. We did some of that stuff at running back as well. And we definitely did it on D line. We gave ourselves a chance to compete. And I'm like, who can ask for more than that? Giants fans can nitpick, and they will. They can complain. They most certainly will about what we didn't do, who we didn't get, the guys that are in 53-man cut. Giants fans will be talking about. We should have them, get them on the team. I know what's going to happen. It's a continuous. They're consistent, put it like that. But I'm enthusiastic about the season. I like where things are going. I haven't changed my mind about my original prediction. I think we're going to do better than 3 games. I don't care what so-called Giants fans say. We're going to do better than that. So I'm still sticking with my original position in regards to how many games they're going to win. I ain't changing my mind on that one, not yet. There's no reason for me to change it yet. So we'll see what happens. But any closing thoughts, brother? We'll go ahead and shut this down.
I don't have any more thoughts, man. I just want the season to start. I needed to start, man.
It's coming.
I say this at the end of every one of our pods. I just cannot wait. Every week we get closer. This time next week, man, we're doing a week 1 preview. It'll be our first official preview.
It's exciting.
I can't wait, man. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
I'm going to watch college in the meanwhile, but
Texas, Ohio State, big noon kickoff Saturday.
I watched college last week, bro. I wasn't college on Saturday, man. I watched
Iowa State, Kansas State.
It was good.
I was so disappointed in Kansas State. I had them winning that one.
Yeah. I did too, but there's some things that you can't do that kind of stuff. But so we'll just talk in the interim between now and our week 1 preview. Get ready for that. For all you guys watching and listening to the Big Blue Lifers podcast, thank you for supporting our show. Support the YouTube channel. Support us on the social media platforms. Definitely appreciate you guys so much. That's Jess. I'm Mr. U. We're out of here. Have a fantastic day. Go Giants!